In the golden age of trade and exploration, owning a Dutch collector's cabinet was a symbol of wealth, intelligence, and global curiosity. They were fully customized and handcrafted for the buyer, never mass-produced. The cabinets were packed with puzzled compartments and hidden spaces. At the time, this type of cabinet would have cost as much as a small house, or 2 or 3 years of a craftsman's salary. Today, you'd be lucky to find one of these for under $500,000. Which brings us to today's project. A customized frameless cabinet that will hang on the wall. We will integrate my previously carved sailing ship in cherry into the front doors of the cabinet for a dramatic finish. What could possibly go wrong? Let's find out. So a lot of what I'm going to be doing today involves the table saw, and then I will very minimally be using the CNC router to complete some of the tasks that go behind this cabinet. To put together a box for a cabinet, you really just need to make sure it's square. So you could use a track saw or even a regular saw as long as you're on a straight plane. So I designed this cabinet using Fusion 360. The outer material that's going to make up the box is going to be 3/4 inch plywood. The inside is going to be 1/2 inch plywood, and then the backboard is going to be 1/4 inch plywood. I have a couple of add-ins here that I used for Fusion 360 that are really great. Matboards Pro made sure that I could put each and every one of the pieces that I would need on a outlined sheet of stock. And in this manner, I've been able to plan really well how much material that I will need for this project. And that's going to help me ensure that I only go to the store one time for this. It's going to help me check off each and every item that I need. And it's also dimensioned it for me. Now, to build the cabinet, I actually used a program called Joiner CAD right here. This provides a lot of options within Fusion 360 that you can use to design your own furniture. I am definitely a Fusion 360 noob at this point, but after this experience, I am definitely looking to get better at this. This has been very, very helpful. Okay, so step one of this project, we need to cut this plywood to dimension. I'm going to use the cut list that I produced from Fusion 360 to cut all of these pieces of plywood to the sizes that I need. Okay, so now that I've got everything cut out, I'm gonna go ahead and mount my 3D carving into the front panel of the cabinet. Basically what I'm gonna do is use the tool path from my last video, the exact same tool path, and I'm going to carve down a area clearance tool path about 1/2 inch into this. And because the carving is about 0.6 of an inch, it's going to sit just a little bit above flush right here with the face of this panel. So this is just exactly the same process. We're gonna use painter's tape and hot glue to secure the piece, and then we're gonna go ahead and get it carved out. I also wanted to point out that at this point, we need to decide which side of this piece of plywood is going to be the front of the cabinet. I call the bad side the ass side, or the ass face. You want the face that doesn't look like ass. So make sure you're picking that. Strong leg pull. So this area clearance path didn't really come out like how I was envisioning it. The depth of the carve ended up leaving us with some edges on the top that distract from the detailed carving. So what I'm going to do is try to carve an additional profile pass with this 60-degree groovy Jenny, and hopefully that will knock the edge off and look a lot better. I've recreated the tool path in Carveco and programmed the path at 15 inches per minute. This way I can stop the machine in time if anything goes wrong. Either way, if this doesn't work, then I'll be cutting a new piece of plywood and starting over, because I really want these 2 front doors to look awesome. This is exactly what I want. There's no tear out. I'm going slow enough to not damage what I've already got going on, and it's applying that edge that I really like. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Let's go ahead and do a test fit. Like a glove. Before I start talking about assembling this cabinet, I have one more set of cuts that I need to make using the router table. To house the back board of the cabinet, I will need to run slots 1/2 inch deep into the top, bottom, right side, and left side. From there, I can build the box around the back. I'm going to be using this white side SC218 to cut the slots. The width of this bit is just slightly larger than the thickness of the backboard. The slots will run across the entire length of the side pieces, but for the top and bottom pieces, they will stop short 1 inch, so that the slot cannot be seen when the cabinet is fully assembled. Once we're done with this, we'll drill some pocket holes and install edge banding. So I have my edge banding cutter from Rockler, and basic household iron. Basically just gonna iron this stuff on and cut it, and then we should be good to go to the next step. I've never actually done this process before, but thank goodness for YouTube. I looked it up and figured it out. Hopefully it works out. That's really handy right there. It's time to drill some pocket holes so I can assemble the box portion of this cabinet. I'll be using this Kreg 720 pocket hole jig to drill all of the holes. I used to struggle with these, but this tool has made this so much easier. The time it will take me to get this done will be less than 5 minutes. It clamps onto the work surface and holds the workpiece on its own, so all you have to do is position it, drill, then rinse and repeat. The drill bit collar has a material thickness reading so that you know you're getting the right depth every single time. It also comes with the 2 bits you need to get it screwed in on the back. Pretty cool. Let's build a box. I'll be using 1 1/4 inch screws from Kreg for this part. Okay, so I just encountered a pretty big mistake that I just made. The pocket holes that I drilled actually are not even going to be able to join these 2 pieces together because I need this side piece to sit on top of the bottom piece. And because of the way I drilled the pocket holes, the screw would end up coming straight through here without even connecting to this. So I need to redo the pocket holes into the sides and try to just keep them around the hinges, make sure that my hinges have plenty of space, and hopefully I can patch this up. I don't think it's a critical mistake. We are still gonna have these pocket holes up on the top and the bottom, but luckily they're on the inside of the cabinet, so you can't really see them. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and drop our back piece in before we screw in the top. That is a nice fit. All right, so we got a box. Now I'm starting to look at what my inside frame is gonna look like. All of these shelves are gonna be height customizable. So I have this shelf pin jig here from Kreg. Also gonna make this really super fast and easy, so I'm pretty excited to use it. I haven't used this yet, and we'll see how it goes. The 2 middle walls here, if you look back at the Fusion 360 snapshot, which I did, they're gonna be 2.5 inches from the inside face to the inside face. So I need to make sure these line up really well. Okay, so now I'm going to install my 2 middle dividers here. These have to be 10.5 inches from this face to this face, or else this whole project is shot. So I'm gonna measure it 3 or 4 times before I screw it in. Only one more step until we talk about finishing. I'm going to drill the holes into the cabinet doors using this concealed hinge jig from Kreg. Every hinge kit you buy should have a template with instructions on how deep your holes should be for the hinge and the screws. For this, I have a 2.4mm drill bit for the screws, and this Kreg bit will drill to a depth of 35mm. This Kreg jig makes it easy because it is a preset at the correct depth, and it provides a way for us to offset the guide from the door edge. Knowing the measurement will be critical for our hinge fitting inside the cabinet, so make sure to check the hinge instructions. Need to do some cleanup around here before I get on to the paint. I don't want all this crap in the paint, do we? That looks really good. I love these jigs, man. All right, so we finally made it through the horrible task of getting these things painted. The whole cabinet is white. We just need to add in our 3D carve. Today is finishing day, so I've added the French cleat to the back side of the cabinet, which I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and mount the other side of the French cleat to the wall. Awesome, looks good. Now I just need to get the door on. We're going to go ahead and commit our 3D carving to the door frame here. Just gonna use a bunch of regular wood glue for this. Okay, so I have everything ready to go. The shelves have been painted, the cabinet has been painted, and the carving has been mounted in the door panel. After losing sleep thinking about this, I've decided that I'm not going to cut this in half to make 2 doors. I think it would be a shame to cut a carving like this in half. After all, I did spend 13 hours on it. I checked the hinge manufacturer information, and 2 hinges will support the width and weight of this door as a whole. I'm still going to add a 3rd hinge in the middle because I want the strength of the hinges holding the door to be overkill. Alright, hinges are on. Last thing to do, drill a hole for our knob, get that installed, and then we can put the shelves in and get it up on the wall. So that brings this project to a close. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this cabinet using my last video's carving. Do you think I can sell it for $500,000 like the Dutch used to? Let me know in the comments. A lot of times in woodworking, you can't plan for the problems that come up out of nowhere. I found myself getting frustrated during some of the steps in this project. It's important to remember that problem solving is a necessary skill for woodworkers, and sometimes you just have to walk away to think it over. If I continued to make actions while frustrated, then the chances of messing something up even worse are even higher. I also believe that the decision to not cut this front panel in half to make 2 doors may have saved the final appearance of this project. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you thought about the project in the comments below.